Hello, everybody. Welcome to Postpartum Perspectives. I'm one of your hosts, Julia Kavanaugh, and I am a birth doula, postpartum doula, and newborn care specialist, and one of the teachers at Postpartum Doula Academy. And
I'm Nancy Ham, and I am a teacher at Gentle Ventures Training. And I've also been a newborn care specialist for 33 years, and that means that I've been working hands-on with newborns for that long. So sometimes I think I know what I'm doing, and I hope you agree. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that's contracts.
oof,
Contracts is so huge in our industry.
yeah,
I'm not sure what Julia's going to come up with. She has some scenarios to talk about,
yeah,
and we will discuss what would happen if they did or did not have a contract. We're going to go through a contract that I sell. I've been selling contracts for about 15 years,
mhm,
and the contracts that I sell have been looked at and approved by at least 4 lawyers that I know of. And I know that girls call me and say, I just had my lawyer look at your contract and he says, wow, this is really a good contract. So I know it's probably been reviewed by more than that. But and this is not for me to sell contracts. This is just to make you aware as a birth worker, not necessarily a newborn care specialist, not especially a postpartum doula, but a birth worker.
yeah,
So we've got different kinds of contracts. We've got birth workers contract, newborn care specialist contract, a specific postpartum doula contract,
yeah,
and nanny contracts.
yeah.
So we hope you'll stay tuned and see what we have in store today.
Yeah, this is, at first when you hear the topic of contracts, you're like, I don't really want to talk about that. I want the juicy stuff. But contracts are really juicy
Mhm.
because if you don't have the right protection, things can go wrong really fast. So I personally always leaned more in the camp of like, I just want the good feelings between me and the clients. I want it to feel like we're friends. I want it to be mutually trusting. So let's just have it be verbal, you know? And I've had several mentors in my life. One of my mentors, who's been doing her practice for over 30 years, that's how she operates. And she swears that that's always worked for her. Now she's in a different field. She's not in the after birth world. She's in the pre-birth world, but it's always worked for her to not have a contract, which God bless her. I don't know how that has manifested because I tried it, Nancy, and several times, and I just got bit in the butt each time. So let's talk about like, all right. So one of the things, let's talk about like unclear hours. So verbally, you've got let's make this hypothetical, although it is based off of me. You go into a contract and you got a girl who says, yeah, okay, I'll work an 8 hour shift, or 12-hour shift. And we don't need to be specific about the hours. Like in general, we'll have it be from like 7 to 7, right? And then halfway through the contract, those hours change. And the mother says, well, we never specified. We just said it would be 12 hours. And the NCS or the doula is like, but shoot, I actually kind of want to make plans and have a life outside. I didn't think that we were had to stick to that. So I don't know, how do you address that in your contracts?
Well, first of all, the contract has specific hours. They have to fill out a little daily chart kind of a thing that says what hours they'll be working Sunday through Saturday, say for instance.
Yeah.
And they put their initials next to that so that you know that those are your hours. And generally, if they want to change hours, it can be okay. But sometimes, like for instance, I always work 10 to 6. Those were the hours that I worked, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And everybody would sign off on that. And then pretty soon somebody would come and say, I would just really prefer if you worked 11 to 7. And I will be like, no, I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't want to be on the road that late at night. Maybe
Yeah.
dumb reason, but I don't want to be on the road. And I want to miss uh, uh,
Traffic.
rush hour
Rush hour.
traffic. And I
Yes.
want to miss rush hour traffic. If I leave at 6 o'clock, I can be home by 6:30. If I leave at 7 o'clock, it's going to be probably 8 before I get home.
Yeah.
And so I have a reason for the hours I want. Now, let's just say that you are on a 24/7 job.
Yeah.
And she has said to you, I want you to work this hours to this hours, and you can have a break at this time. And then she
Yeah.
changes it a little bit and says, well, I really need you to work these hours, which takes away your break. And
Yes.
maybe puts your break at 5. I have one person that
That's
had
happened to me
five
too.
o'clock in the morning. Their break
Yeah.
is from 5 to 10. And it's
Yes.
5 to 10. You don't have time to go out and get groceries if you need them, or go to get a massage if you need one.
Yeah.
That just doesn't make sense. So a contract really makes things firm between you and your employer. And let's not forget, this is business. This isn't a friendship. This
Mm,
isn't a coming together of good souls.
yeah.
Maybe, but you good souls, you need to have a contract so that there are no questions about exactly how everything's going to work.
And I think you made a really good point there too, because in this specific field, we're going into people's homes, so it feels super intimate.
It
And
does.
and it's so easy working so intimately with families for like, I mean, for the lines to get blurred.
Yes.
And suddenly, we go in at like as professionals and we leave kind of as friends. And I mean, hopefully, ideally, with a good con with a good family relationship. But if if that friendship gets muddled over during the contract and you don't have the structure in place, I don't know, for me, it gets hard to say no if I because I'm like, well, I really love this family and I want to help out. But if it's in the contract, I can just put it back to the contract.
Mhm.
It takes it off of me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay, what about, ooh, all right. So overnight rates and holiday rates.
Okay.
Uh, you've got a girl who signed up with a family. Everything's going swimmingly, and they say, "Oh, we need to take you with us to our home in Montenegro over Christmas."
Okay.
And the girl says, "Oh my gosh, yay, this is fantastic." She's thinking they're definitely going to give me a bonus. I'm working Christmas hours. She's excited.
Does
And
she
when
have
she
a contract?
No, she doesn't
Okay.
have a contract.
Okay.
And then she goes, and lo and behold, when she gets her, like everything goes really well. She doesn't see her family. She works over Christmas. And at the end of it, she gets her paycheck, and it's exactly the same as it was like 2 weeks before Christmas. There's no pay bump. And she goes to
That's
the family and is like, "Hey, I worked Christmas hours." And and all they can say
so.
is, yeah, so we
So
didn't agree.
yeah, we
We
did not agree. And that's another reason in the contract we have specific holiday hours, and you can change all this in your contract once you get it. But
Yeah.
there are specific holiday hours that you get either time and a half or double time, whichever you prefer.
Wow.
So that makes it really um, interesting to see how badly they want you for Christmas.
Ah, that's true.
And a lot of times, if they travel and it's double time for Christmas, they'll let you have Christmas Day off.
Yes.
So that is also, and we also have traveling clauses. If you're
Yeah.
traveling, what you can they expect and what you can expect. You've got
Oh,
to
I love
cover
that.
all the bases. You can't just have and the thing is, sometimes you don't know that you're going to be going on a trip. You may
Yes.
be 6 weeks into the job, and they may say to you, hey, we're going to go to wherever you said, um, and we'd
Hawaii.
like you to go with us.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Well, perhaps it was over Christmas and you didn't care to go. You had a family.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a contract, if they go and you don't go with them, they still owe you your week's pay.
Oh,
Not including Christmas, but the week's pay. If you go with them, then not only do you get your regular pay plus your overtime pay for the Christmas or New Year's or whatever, but you get everything paid for. Nothing comes out of your pocket.
wow.
So they can't say, you want to go ahead and just book your own airline? No, I don't want to book my own airline. You need to book that around trip. You need
Yes.
to pay for all your food. They need to pay for your lodging that is not in with the baby. So it can
Right.
be a room attached to the baby's room, but it doesn't have to be with the baby. And there's a lot of things that go along with when you have a contract that you just can't come out of the blue and say, oh, by the way, since we're traveling, I think I need all my expenses paid. And they'll look at you and say, I don't know, maybe not. Yeah, we'll do half for you. We'll give you a daily food allowance of $3.25.
Oh,
No, I need closer to like $50 if we're going to go to this place because this is the expense for,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
I want to touch on the idea of a family because a lot of us will work for high profile families.
mhm,
And there's a woman who talked with me about a family that she worked with who was high profile, and she presented her contract. And the house manager of the family said, "Oh, we don't need your contract. Don't worry, we've got it covered," and gave the NCS the family's contract. And the NCS was, I think that was her first high profile family, and she didn't want to offend.
she froze.
She froze and she was like, okay, great. And so she signed their contract and didn't, just kind of left hers by the wayside because at least there's a contract, but it didn't have all of this stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what a lot of girls run into when they do high profile jobs because
Yeah.
the high profile office manager
Yeah.
has a contract that she
Yeah.
wants you to sign. And
Yeah.
if you don't sign it, you might not get the job. But
Right.
if you do sign it, you do things like I have a friend right now who is looking at a contract where she's working 24/7 for a month straight with no breaks.
Oh,
None.
wow.
None. And she says, I can't do that. And I said, well, this is the contract. If you want it, you take it. If you don't want it, you don't take it. There's somebody else that'll take it.
Wow.
Yeah. And so you have to be really careful about what you agree with. And let me just tell you that although spoken, like a spoken contract, like you say to your client, I only work Sunday through Thursday,
Yeah.
and they say, oh, that's fine. And later they sue you because they wanted you to work Monday through Saturday.
Right. Right.
That won't stand up in court. It's
Right.
very, very seldom that a spoken contract will stand up in court. You need something in actual writing.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And also the families I've noticed are more likely to say, "Oh, okay," if it's in writing
Hmm.
versus if you say, "Well, you said this." It's so easy for them to say, "No, I didn't."
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your word against mine. There's nothing holding there's nothing when you have a contract, ladies.
Yeah.
You have to have a few things that you have to make it a contract. You have to have your name, your client's name, the job dates that you'll be working from, say, May to September.
Yeah.
It can be a between time, like between January 1st and 14th to March 1st to the 14th, depending on when the baby comes.
Yeah.
So you have to have that. You also have to have money attached to it, or it's not binding. So
Mm,
that's why we ask for what we call a retainer.
yeah.
Now I look today actually on something that's called a booking fee, because somebody said, well, you guys should ask for a booking fee.
Yeah.
And so I
What's
looked at a
the booking
booking
fee?
fee, and a
Yeah.
booking fee is a fee that they will pay right up front that you do not work off. It's just your money, but it holds you to that contract. It says that
Oh.
you will hold that space for them for the contract, but it
Oh.
doesn't guarantee, like a retainer is like a percentage of the full contract. So you would get like a retainer of 25% or 30% of the full contract price paid up front.
Yeah.
Then you take that and put that in a special account, and you don't touch that until until your retainer takes over, which is the last, say, third or a quarter of your contract.
Right.
So you
Right.
can't take that money out. But with a booking fee, they've got no reason not to let you go at week 2, because there's no money attached to it that's going to make it worth their while to hold on to you.
Oh,
That makes sense?
interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the
So,
book, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. And so if you don't ask for enough of a retainer, let's just say you ask for 1 week's pay as a retainer. For most high profile families, that's not going to do it.
Yeah.
That's not going to make them not fire you at week 11.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
what's a 1 week? What's 1 week? That's nothing to them. But if it was like a 25% of the whole contract, and sometimes these are $30,000-$40,000 contracts, so you're asking for a $10,000, at least a $10,000 retainer fee. That's going to make them sit up and take a little bit of notice. You know,
So it really can offer job protection.
it offers job protection. And what about? Uh, I know this comes up quite a bit. My baby is sleeping through the night. I don't need you anymore.
I
Oh,
mean,
it's
actually,
only
that was
week.
my next one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
cancellation without notice.
Right. They can't let you go without, and all you have to say is that, isn't that wonderful? You still owe me for the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
It does.
Or my mother-in-law is going to come
Yes,
and
that's a big one.
she's gonna help and we actually don't need you to anymore.
Yeah. No. And
Yep,
according to the contract, that is not a valid reason to let somebody go.
that's
They
right.
have to have a reason, like you've done something illegal, or
Yes.
and we name things in the contract that you can't do, like you can't drink on the job, you can't do drugs on the job, you
Right.
can't mistreat the baby, you have to respect people, the whole thing like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah.
unless you do those things,
Right.
they called you and said, the baby's due next week, and my mom says she wants to come and help instead, so we won't be needing you. All you have to say is thank you very much for the $30,000, because in the contract, they have to give you 14 days notice, I believe it is, if they're
Yes.
going to
Yeah.
cancel the contract for a reason that is not um, something that you've done wrong.
You know, this is I love that the contract also acts as the firm upholder of the rules. Because
Hmm.
for people like me, it's hard for me to say, well, we agreed to this.
Yeah,
You agreed to hire me for this long, but if I have a contract that that will be upheld in court, um, then I can say, well, we agreed in a contract and that's binding. So
right.
it gives me a little extra power behind
Yes,
standing up for what's fair.
right. And another thing I want to bring up is, every once in a while it comes up, well, is this contract going to be valid in my state?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
basically, there is nothing in the contract that goes against any state laws whatsoever.
Yeah.
California has a right to work, law, which means that
Yep.
they can hire and fire upon what, but
Yeah,
um,
California is a right to work state.
yeah, so they say they can hire and fire on will.
Yeah.
Um, so that makes this a little bit more difficult,
Yeah.
but basically when they sign the contract, they still are under some kind of legal protection. And
Yeah.
although the court may or may not go for them or against them,
Right.
but basically that's just about the right to work state is about the only thing I think that it would make it, you know, and I wonder if you put in, and I'm going to do some research on that. If I put in the contract, if this is a right to work state,
Yeah.
we agree on the terms and will. I wonder if that will work. I'll have to do some checking on that. It's interesting. I will do some checking on that.
Yeah. And well, and most of these contracts never see the court.
They never
Like,
do. And I haven't had anybody call me and say that they've taken my contract to court and it has not been in favor of them.
yeah. Yeah.
So the courts are, you just have to look at it and it's really clear unless the clients are real idiots, which we've had a few of those too. So, yeah.
Okay, how about sleep training in
Okay.
contracts, right? So if you don't you've got an NCS who and this is all hypothetical, they don't have a contract. And the parents say, we want you to sleep train our baby.
Okay.
Um, and the baby is over 4 months. They brought this woman in to sleep train because their friends had her sleep train, and the
Okay.
parents, okay, our baby's 4 months, come on in. And this NCS, her method involves crying, and the parents hear the baby crying and they rush in and they say, oh, what are you doing? We can't have her cry. And the NCS is like, well, this is my method. And they say, well, no, we're not okay with that. And now you've got two contradictory methods, and there's no contract. So the
Well, if
parents are
there's,
like,
yeah,
"Bye."
yeah, once again, if there's no contract, she really has nothing to say. If she has a contract that says we have discussed the method of sleep training that you want,
Yeah,
and you are willing to um, adhere to my schedule while I'm not there,
yeah,
I can sleep train your baby. But some people are like, they want their baby sleep trained, but they don't ever want their baby to cry. So if the baby is fussing a little when the NCS is there, they're okay with that. But if the baby fusses on the weekend when she's not there, they go in and get the baby. And so it
yeah,
sets everything back.
yeah,
So then you have to sit down with the parents and say, what is your goal here? I know your goal is to have your baby sleep through the night. What are you willing to do to help me? Can I just work 7 days a week for a couple of weeks and take care of this?
yeah,
Do you want to continue doing it this way and the baby will not be sleeping on your nights off anyway because babies are smart?
they are smart.
Yeah.
They are. Um, I think I'm looking at the notes that I wanted to touch on. Um, okay, what does your contract say about boundaries for communication? Like, I've had parents when I haven't had this in the contract. I've had contracts, but I don't have boundaries for communication in the
I
contract.
don't know what boundaries for communication means.
Like, when they can text me if it's
Oh,
my night off,
yeah.
or when they can call me. And so I'll get calls or texts throughout the day on my time off. And that's my time off.
I
But
get
I can put it in the contract.
it. We do have it in the contract. Let me see if I can quick pull it up. It's under general issues. Um, Here it is. And I'm going to read you the clause. I'll use
Okay.
your name. While Julia is there to educate and assist you during her shift, on her personal time, she will be attending to other clients, sleeping, and caring for her family.
Yeah.
the newborn care specialist, there's a little box you can check that says the newborn care specialist will not be accepting calls, texts, or emails during her assignment on her time off and will answer all your questions upon arrival to your home.
Mhm.
Other one is, should you find that you have a question that cannot wait until her shift, there will be a charge, and then it states what the charge is.
Yeah.
For each answered text and another charge for each phone call and a limit to the minutes added to your invoice at the end of the week.
Ooh,
So yeah, you can take that out and answer all the questions, texts, and emails. You can take that out of the contract, or you can leave it in the contract and just put little how much it's going to cost them every time they text you. Because some clients are really, really good, and they just don't text or email. They wait till you get there and then they ask you all the questions.
yeah.
Some, it's like 15 times a day, and it's
Yeah.
like, I was sleeping, or I was getting a massage, or I was spending time with my kids, and I just don't want to be doing this. So it's your choice. It's your choice
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Oh gosh. I also like that the contract that I got from you offers like it offers all the options and then I can decide like, oh, this one's like I'm okay if they call me. I just don't want them texting more than 3 times.
Right.
So, but it covers all the areas that I wouldn't think to make sure we're in there like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I did go online because I wanted to see what kind of contracts everybody is selling and
Yeah.
for the templates and everything. And I
Yeah.
actually bought one because it was $5 and it was like 7 pages. And I was like, I need to see what this is for this
Yeah.
$5. That's a template. I could never open it. I worked on it for an hour to try to open it and it wouldn't open. So I don't know what that was. But a lot of people are selling like template contracts and then
Yeah.
you just fill in the blank. And that's kind of what mine is, except for one difference, and that is that it can delete, add, or change any clause.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between mine and a template contract. And
Oh,
the template contracts also don't include little things like what we just talked about.
yeah. The
Yeah,
the boundaries to communication.
yeah,
And also like, okay, so the thing we haven't touched on yet is liability protection. So like if something goes wrong, if the baby falls, if there's a rash, um, how important it is to have it in the contract that we are not held liable for these things.
um,
Or how do we cover ourselves in the contract? Like if the baby develops a butt rash because the parents didn't change their diaper
right.
frequently when we weren't there.
Okay, and I'm trying to find the clause that I've got that covers that.
Yeah, I think if I can remember it from the contract that I got from you, it talks about how the NCS can't be blamed without a clear cause.
Yes.
Like there has to be a direct uh and that's why cameras are also really important for us.
Well, yes, and that's why there's a clause in here for monitoring too. That and I'm like, bring them on. I would so much rather have a camera on me than
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Because
Why is that?
anything that happens, if it's on film, they'll know it's not me.
Yeah,
They'll know it is me.
yeah,
And I want that. As far as what we were just talking about, the liability, I can't find that right now. The contract that I sell is like, what do I got?
like 11
It's
pages.
like 7 or 9 pages or something like that.
Yeah,
So to go through them and look at all the stuff is a little bit difficult unless I know exactly where I put it.
yeah.
Um,
But there is liability protection. That's why I brought it. It's liability um within our scope.
Within
Like
our scope, yeah.
we we will take care of the baby diapering, like all the things that we do as NCSs or postpartum doulas. And if something happens outside of that or outside of our watch, we are not held liable for that.
Correct, correct.
Um, which is, there's something happening in the NCS world right now where there's debate about whether something that happened to a baby was shaken and had brain damage, and where the NCS is being charged as responsible for that. And we don't know if it happened on her watch or the parents currently, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, yeah.
Like these things are
Things like that happen. And I think that falls more in the preview of insurance also.
okay, yeah.
If, yeah. And
But we don't have insurance as NCSs, but we do as doulas.
as a doula, you've got insurance, but as an NCS, it's really hard to find insurance. And we can't figure out why nobody wants to insure us because the postpartum doula does the same thing,
Yeah,
basically, except she cares more for mom than the baby.
yeah,
But that is more of an insurance issue.
yeah.
Um, and I do know I cover it in the contract. I wish I could just pull that up quick a minute, but I can't. I
It's
have to
okay.
sit here and read where I stuck it because I stick things here and stick things there, and then I can't find them.
It's more interesting to hear your thoughts on it, honestly, for me anyway, because I know it's in the contract, but like just to hear your 2 cents on it, like for those accidents that happen when we're not there, or that happen like in between our shift and the parent shift, if we leave and the baby is asleep and the baby was fine when we left, and then the parents take over and now there's a rash,
Yeah,
but the rash wasn't there when we were there. When did this rash develop? um would that go more under insurance protection?
no. I mean, rash is really nothing, and that's going to happen anyway. Uh,
Yeah,
the baby can have a rash or not have a rash from one diaper change to the next. So
true.
that's nothing I would worry about. The only thing that I would be concerned about would be like dropping the baby or something, shaking the baby or something like that. I wouldn't worry too much about little,
And that's on us.
and that's on, yes, yes,
Yes.
that's on us. Yeah.
Yeah. And that would help protect the client too. Like the contract doesn't just protect us.
Oh, no, no, the client has a lot of protection in the contract,
Yeah.
a lot of protection.
And and I think that helps me too, like the part of me that is the doula, the caregiver of like, well, I just want to make sure they're okay. The contract also helps give the client um protection and guidelines for what to expect.
Mhm.
And for those of us out there who are really gentle and non-confrontational and don't want to don't want to be an inconvenience and just want to make everything great for the families, the contract is a loving way of giving structure to the families as much as it is for ourselves.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to think if there's anything else that I needed to say about compensation. I think what we talked about that, but compensation also has to be somewhere in because this is an employment contract.
Yes.
So compensation has to be somewhere in the contract also to make it a legitimate contract. So your
Oh,
hourly rate or your daily rate, whatever it is, needs to be in the contract along with the retainer if you're doing the retainer. And
yeah.
I strongly, strongly suggest never to do a job without a retainer. That
Wow.
caused more problems for more people who are trying to be kind.
Yes.
And even if you have to break the retainer up into two parts, maybe, if you feel that your client is having a hard time paying that retainer, if you
Yeah.
can break it up into two parts or something to be received before you start the job,
Yeah.
that would be perfectly okay. But you've got to have a retainer to keep yourself safe.
In what way? Like the retainer
Financially, financially
finance.
safe.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
See, if you have that, let's say it's $10,000 and you have that in your bank, and
Yeah.
1 week before the contract starts, they say, my mom's going to come and take care of the baby, you at least have that $10,000.
Yeah.
You should get the whole contract. If you took it to court, you probably would.
Yeah.
But at least you have that 10,000.
To cover you while you find your next
While
job.
you find your next job, you have dedicated this time to them, this 3 months to them. You have turned away every job that has come your way. You have
Yeah.
lost a lot of potential clients,
Yeah.
probably, and
Yeah.
given them away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Perfect. Oh, okay. I mean, that covers it for me. Is there
I
anything
think
else
it
that
covers
you
it for me.
feel?
I'm just trying to think if we left anything out about contracts. Just there, let me say one more thing about that. If it's a week job, 1 week, I probably won't worry about it too much
Okay.
because
Good
first of all,
point.
what's going to
Yeah.
happen? It's only a week, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. But anything over that, I would definitely have a contract for.
What about this, Nancy? What if you're filling in for somebody
Mhm,
and they have a contract
mhm.
and you're going to be filling in for several weeks? Should you have your own contract for the family as well? Should you ask that your name be added to their contract, the NCF that you're filling in for? How does
Okay,
that?
there's a big difference between filling in and sharing a contract.
Okay.
If you, I would say, if you are working for this contract more than a week
Yeah.
or more than a couple days to a week, then you would be sharing the contract. And then your name should be on the contract with her name, I would assume her name.
Yeah.
And you would both get the same type of privileges or compensation or whatever.
Okay.
But this almost has to be done before the baby's born. Let's just put it a different way. Let's just say the baby's been born and this
Okay.
person has been on the job for 2 weeks and gets COVID.
Okay.
And mom says, not only do I not want you to come back in the next week, I don't want you to come back at all.
Ooh,
And she's like, well, would you like me to find a fill in? Somebody to fill in, which means that you would be taking over the contract.
right.
So I would, at that point, uh, review her contract that she had and
Yeah.
maybe even use the same contract and just put your name on it, or have your own contract that you actually have. And then you are taking over the contract. You're not filling in, you're taking over the contract.
Right. Right. And if you're just helping out another NCS and you're doing a few days to a couple weeks while they deal with family stuff or they have another client, like the contracts overlap. Um, do you feel like in those 2 weeks,
I,
what would you do?
I would follow her contract, but I'd have a contract with her.
Oh, that's good. A contract with the NCS.
Have a contract with the NCS that says what your job position is, what your responsibilities are, the
Brilliant.
pay that you're going to get. It could be just a fast one pager.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be complicated. And it would just say, like, I will be following the details of your contract.
Yeah.
But as far as me working for you, I will need a contract that covers our business situation also. So there's
That
no misunderstanding.
I love that. That's something I have not heard yet before of having a contract with another NCS or doula
It
when you're working with the family that you're covering for. And I love that because it makes it clear
makes it
of
very clear. And then the NCS who originally had the contract is the one who should have that one-page contract and give it to you.
uh-huh. Okay.
I mean, if she doesn't, then you do your own. But
Yeah.
she is responsible because she has looked for you, found you as a fill-in or whatever. And so she would need to have that one-page contract that says, these are the things that I expect. Here's the pay that you will get. Here's the hours that you will work, and here's how long it will take. Are you still there? You froze. Hello. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
You froze.
Yes, yes. You froze a little bit for me too for a
Oh,
second,
okay.
but
Okay.
but it's better now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
So, okay. No, that covers it for my questions.
And let's quick bring in another thing too, and that is just let's say that you are an NCS for a family and they want to take you on a trip. However, they have a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and they want you to watch all of them.
Yeah. Oof.
No, my job is to take care of your newborn.
Right?
And then there'll be,
And that's in the
bring your
contract.
nanny, and you can bring your nanny. Yeah. And I've had a lot of girls come to me with,
Yeah.
yeah, but they don't want to bring the nanny. They just want to bring me. How much should I charge for it? And I'm like, at least double, at least double. So
Yeah.
you have to be
Because
real
it's not
careful with
our
it. You A
that's
lot
not
of
our
NCSs
scope.
don't deal with older kids for a reason. We don't
Yeah,
like older kids. And I
that's
don't mean
true.
we don't like them. I just mean we don't, they're not our little niche. They're not our niche, and we don't know how to deal with them like we do how to deal with babies.
Yeah.
And you froze again. So I am going to assume that this is
Yeah.
not, we need
Yeah,
to end
we're
this. Yeah. Okay. You're back now, I think.
so are you. Yeah, we'll talk about tech stuff later, but I think that we really covered it. And guys, if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, please reach out to Nancy and myself. We
Right.
love to hear from you.
And we
And
will
as always, like and subscribe.
and we will put the link to the general ventures contract if you're interested in the below us in the notes. And thank you very much.
Yeah, in the comment section below.
Yeah. And we will talk at you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.